Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about an amazing novel. In it, there's a wedding where the bride, Nora, should be basking in happiness. But guess what? Her fiancé Damon, as soon as his lips left hers, hurried off to attend to someone else. Even more outrageously, Damon whispered a few words to a newly arrived warrior and then took off with him. This bride being ignored right there at the wedding had me hooked. You've got to be curious about what happens next. Right. This book is definitely worth your time. 10 The Farewells. The moment Damon's lips left mine and his grip loosened, a flurry of movement erupted around us. Bodies surged towards the altar, eager to congratulate their alpha. As Dame un's hands from my wrist, I stumbled backward, the force of his release leaving me unsteady. His cold eyes barely flickered over me before he turned his attention to a man who had just arrived, a newcomer, dressed in casual jeans and a leather jacket, or a frown that mirrored Damon's own distant expression. They began speaking in low tones, seemingly oblivious to the crowd gathering around them. June's perceptive nose identified the man as a warrior, his scent unmistakable. As members of the Red Blood Pack approached to offer their congratulations, Damon carelessly ignored them, abruptly racing out of the room with the warrior in tow. Thankfully, my maid of honor and dear friend Leah was right behind me, catching me before I could fall. As I regained my balance, I turned to face her, seeing her eyes brimming with tears and her face etched with sympathy. With a trembling hand, I wiped away her tears, shaking my head to signal her to stop. She nodded reluctantly, her brown curls bouncing as she took a shaky breath. I embraced Leah tightly, feeling her arms wrap around me as if she feared I might disappear at any moment. The warmth of her friendship was a stark contrast to the cold indifference I had just experienced from my. A gentle tap on my shoulder drew my attention, and I reluctantly released Leah. I had already sensed Zayn's wolf, Alcy, nearby, so I was surprised to see Zayn standing there, his face a mask of concern. I managed a faint smile as I hugged him as well, his strong arms encircling my waist and pulling me close. I shut my eyes, breathing in his familiar, comforting scent. For a brief moment, I wanted to pretend I was a fairy tale princess who had found her prince charming. But reality crashed down upon me as I remembered my fate mated to the dreaded heartless alpha, a mate no one in the world would willingly choose. As I tried to take a deep breath to hold back the tears forming in my eyes, one rebellious drop escaped, trailing down my cheek. The weight of my new reality settled heavily upon me, surrounded by friends who cared but trapped in a union with a mate who seemed incapable of warmth. Before I knew it, someone cleared their throat and my brother was compelled to move away. He pushes me away softly and wipes my cheek. Hey, don't want your wedding makeup to get ruined now, Your Majesty. Alcy teased me and June. I knew it was Alcy by his slightly deeper tone than Zayn's bitchback eyes, indicating that his wolf had taken over. I was shocked by Zayn's wolf control over his emotions, but then I remember how Zayn's wolf was the most calmest from between us for siblings. A stiff laugh loosened between my sobs, bring back memories of how Zayn used to cheer me up when I was sad as a kid. He would tease me of being His Majesty and do whatever I told him to, and surprisingly he would do them without once thinking. So, long story short, Zayn was home with me while Xavier and were out training. At the time I was 13, and I had bad cramps from my time of month, so I was grumpy the entire day laying my bed from pain. Zayn had felt bits of my emotions rushing through our sibling link, so for the entire day he became my servant, serving me as much food as I wanted in bed, doing my nails, playing cards and dealing with my tantrums. I had even once told him to make me 3 large pizza with extra, like seriously extremely extra cheese on all, and with 1 whole pineapple sliced up on 1 entire pizza and the other 2 just plain cheesy. He actually did it without setting the house on fire and without cutting himself, but ended up getting a nasty burn across his forearm. Even I had felt the sting of the pain, but before I could get out bed and rush down to ask him if he was okay, he was already by my doorstep with the first box to heal my burn before his. I heard someone clear their throat again, and his time my brother sighed before turning around. I looked back to see a male. Early 20s with warm, welcoming brown eyes and neat chocolate brown hair. His arms were crossed down in front of him, and as his eyes lowered themselves in front of my brother, that's when I saw the bulge in his forearm. His hands looked just as muscular as Jordan's Zayness Beta, but they were secretly hidden under his black suit's jacket. Well, goddamn NN. June whistled. Haven't you gotten enough orgasms from your darling mate? I snapped angrily. Maybe, but I can't resist myself when our mate has some hot members in his pack. By judging on his scent, I say HES very influential in the pack. Gamma, I guess, or at least warrior possibly. She shrugged casually. I shake my head disapprovingly. And can I ask, why do you care? You have the freaking alpha as your mate. Correction, a love. Our mate. Not mine alone. At least not for now. She lowered her tone by the last sentence, so it can out as a low mutter which I barely heard. Excuse me, what did you say? She didn't return the question as she left, so I draw my attention back to male. His arms were still crossed, and when he bowed his head slightly, Zane quickly dismissed it with a wave. I thought for a second that the chances of a fight were sky, rocketing because of this missile, but instead he brushed it off just as Zane had. Alpha Zane, he said, his voice not too deep nor too high, just perfectly in between. Luna. Hearing him say Luna attached with my name sent a shiver to crawl down my spine because of it sounding so foreign to my ears. Attempting to keep my body straight, I remained silent as my brother stole a glance toward me to check up on me. It's fine, I'll see, I tell Zane as my eyes were glued onto his face. He doesn't say a word, and after seeing the controversy that the man had sent, he once again clears his throats. Forgive me, Alpha Zane, for the interruption. He started with a bow as Zane snorted at his pathetic excuse. He continued to overlook my brother's behavior as he spoke on. I first wanted to congratulate you, Loon and Nora, for your marriage to the Alpha. Secondly, I can see that you wish to spend some time with your brother, but unfortunately, I was sent to collect you and bring you outside. It's just that our SUVs are ready to head back to our pack, and the Alpha wanted you here instantly. By the time he done speaking, Ryan, Xavier, me, Angel, and Christina had arrived and were enclosed around us from behind. By the way he said our pack, another wave of shivers coiling down my spine. Every part of me was cringing by hearing our pack together, because those two words didn't go well with me in my books. Just behind Luna Nora. What do you mean by head back? What about the after party? Ryan said, coming around from behind. Arms tugged me back as my brothers took steps closer to the front. My apologies, Alphys. I believe Mel has told you that the celebration has been rescheduled to another time. There had seemed to be a misunderstanding between us and the suppliers for the orders of the drinks. Sincere apologies once again from my Alpha. He spoke calmly without remorse, his eyes still diverted to the ground. Now please, Alphys. We must be on our way. I have orders to bring along the Luna, and I can guarantee no harm shall fall upon the Luna as long as I remain by her side. His shiny brown eyes arose and fell onto mine, twinkling in the dim lights of the church. I averted my gaze as Ryan and Zane held back their fists in protest when Xavier spoke. Be sure to maintain your words, pretty boy, because if those words turn out to be wrong, I find out about it. I will skin you alive with my bare hands. Xavier threatened him dangerously. Even from being behind Xavier, I could see the pupils of his eyes pulse and glow from intensity. The male didn't move, nor he did say anything in return, but instead, he steadied still like a statue, awaiting my orders. I clear my dry throat by swallowing some spit before speaking. Give a moment, please. He nodded before walking down the altar a few steps away. I turned to see my brother's mate, their eyes glassy with tears. Hey, don't worry about me, you guys. It'll be fine, and I'll make sure to call first thing in the morning. Okay, I say simply. The girls take turns nodding first, and after receive some hard nudges on my brother's arms, they respond as well. All right. They scowled. After Ryan and Xavier took in a deep breath, and after Zane shook his head. Au revoir. MES chairs FR raise. I whisper, promising not to tear up again. Detie me. I try smiling as I turn to walk away towards the stairway, before I realized what I was missing. I changed courses and walked over to the place where I stood only moments ago. I kneeled down to collect the forgotten bouquet of white flowers. Dusting off the bouquet, I walk up to Leah and placed it into her palms. "It'll be waiting." I laugh softly, enclosing her hand around the bouquet, as a terrascola empty down her cupcake face, ignoring her tears and pretending to smile back. I walk towards the edge of the platform, where the man who had addressed my brother saw me coming and dashed up the stairs to help me down. He placed his hand out with a gentle smile, which I recklunt and I took after biting my lip. Before taking a step, I turned back to see Christina, her face washed with whiteness. "You know, sometimes in life we have to come clean, not just for the sake of ourselves, but for the sake of those who truly care," I say in a medium tone, glaring hard at her. I see her swallow down a gulp and a deep blush rush along her cheeks. Their faces twisted as they landed on Christine, but before I could hear anything, I turned away and headed down the short flight of stairs off the platform. His grip was loose and adjustable, unlike Damon's, whose was tight and fixed. "Thank you," I started, dragging the end part like a questions. His smile lights up his face along with a soft chuckle. "The name's Hunter. Luna." He smiled warmly, leaving my hand and adding a bow. "Pleased to meet you. Luna, please, call me Nora. I don't need any type of formality," I say briskly, as he rises back up. His eyes lingered with curiosity, but he doesn't ask. "I can't promise on that when Damon's around, but when HES not." "Sure thing. Nora, I have to say, am extremely thrilled to have you as a Luna," he added, thrusting both his hands into his pockets as we walked down the aisle over the trampled rose petals. "And why is that? You hardly know anything about me, besides my name, my pack, and the fact that I'm your Luna," I questioned back while holding on to my dress. He stopped midway to turn around. Luckily, the church was empty except for the 15 people who were scattered around, standing quietly as if they were guards. "True. I might not know you, but I can be 1% sure you're better than those little friends you got here." He tilted his head to the corner where a flock of sluts in seriously short dress were standing, giving me the death glare. I remain silent as I process his words in my mind. I then rapidly move ahead with Hunter trailing behind me. He jogged up to me, so we're standing side to side exited the church. He gently twirled me around 180 degrees by holding on to my wrist, so I was standing only a few inches away from his face, my back against one of the cold church pillars. "Okay, look, I'm sorry if I played with your feelings, but please don't go complaining to your mate to have me dismissed." His eyes sparkled with amusement as his face was lightened by the moon's rays. The door were slammed shut to prevent the warmth from escaping, so the only light source was the moon with my wolf vision as a bonus. "Not funny," I replied with a frown. I pull my hand away, shoving him back afterwards. "Firstly, get this straight. They're not my friends, so don't you dare associate them with me ever. And secondly, your alpha wouldn't give a shit even if I did go complaining about his pack and the members. His ego's way too big for his ass for what I've seen, and besides, it's clear that he doesn't love me, so why would he?" Luckily, no one was out beside us too. His head hung as he released a tired sigh. "Look, sorry for my sarcasm, but what I truly meant was that I just hoped you weren't like those bitches back here who only care about looks, wealth, guys, alcohol and sex because our pack has enough of them. All I wanted is that you don't become a part of them. Consider this a warning or threat. I don't care which one you choose. And just looking out for you." Realizing his true motive made my cheeks begin to burn. He was treating me like his sister, and what I doing? Bitching like a hateful bitch about his alpha, who now, for the records, was my mate. Couldn't this day get any better? His dead serious act ended with his usual smile replacing its spot after seeing my burning cheek. "Don't blush. It's your mate's job to make you blush. Oh please, can you give me a break?" I roll my eyes as he gives another boyish smile. "Sorry, But that's what's in my job description when I signed up. He laughed. Be joining along. What is your job? I mean, what's your position in the pack? You haven't told me yet. I thought. He leaned against another one of the pillars to the church, just across mine, crossing his arms. In the moonlight, his face looked younger than before. What does your wolf say? June told me by judging on your century influential in the pack. So maybe a gamma or warrior. He raised an eyebrow when I was done, making me quickly reconsider. What type of warrior? He asked. I bite my lip again. I don't know. An influential one, I guessed, earning another laugh, making me scowl. You have to learn, Nora. Our pack's different. Our warriors are judged upon their abilities here and ranked upon that ability, not like other packs in which you are multiple warriors sitting in one rank. I agree I'm very influential in the pack, but that's not because I'm a warrior. In the Delta, he explained, looking off to the deep forest to his right. Is that the same thing? Either way, you can help in training the pack regardless if you're a Gamma or Delta. No, Nora, it's not. He sighed. A Delta is one rank below a Gamma, but multiple ranks below warriors in a way. We're kind of like assistants for the Gamma. We usually train the younger pups while Gamma train the older ones. That's why we are seen as a lower rank, just because we train the youngest. Oh, I say. How come you said we're instead of him? Are there more Deltas? He arched an eyebrow again, very observant. How else do you think Damon manages 90,000 pack members? What? I stammer. Struck. My hands drop down by my sides. We don't have exact numbers, but that's the approximate. We might have more or less, but it's more likely we have more. He said casually with a shrug while my mouth remained open. Our entire pack is divided into regions in which they're separate beta, gamma, delta, warriors ruling that particular area. In total we have over one of each. What if they're a problem? Who decides the conclusion? If it's a trivial issue like a pack fight or something, usually the beta draws the conclusion, but they still have to make a report and submit it to the head office for the records. It's a large issue. Damon himself addresses it. Usually we don't never have problems just as big. So you're one of the one Deltas? I ask softly after reviewing his words longingly. Not really. Where you're going is sort of the capital of our pack, where the Alpha's house is located. The members you meet here are the main heads for their rank. In the head for all the Deltas in the pack, he said, hanging his head. Well, oh, that's good, right? I said. You're not that low rank then. You still have over one Deltas working under you. Nora, devil witch, Nora. He shook his head tiredly. Didn't I just say our pack's different? I'm still low ranked, regardless of how many people are under me. I'm under the Gamma, Beta, and many warriors, plus they're one members each. My mind tries to wrap itself around his words. 90,000s, regions, one Beta's Gamma S warriors. And most of all, ranks, the most important title and highest expectations for the Red Blood Pack members. I could now understand why people wouldn't say anything positive about the pack because in a way, they hadn't earned it. They had earned that title of the Ruthless Pack yet, which was controlled by a heartless alpha. I cowed and imagined living in a pack where titles mattered more, and expectations would be set before birth. A pack where love was an esmetalia and seen as a reason to someone's weakness. I gulped down the lump in my throat before, wrapping myself with my arms as a cool breeze flew by. The temperature began to drop down to negatives as I could see the cloud of my own words escaping my lips. I never saw Hunter move towards me until he handed me his suit's jacket. He was now strapped in a black vest clinging over a crisp white dress shirt with its sleeves rolled up to his elbow. You didn't have to, I said, rolling my hand over its Arabic. I did have to. Actually, it's my duty. I wrapped the coat around my shoulders with its large sleeves dangling down. Duty? I asked curiously, looking up to his face. It's just THA before he could finish his sentence. The sound of large rusted metal gates drew our attention back. Some large SUVs, one white in the middle with the black ones behind and in front, had entered through the church's screeching gate. The white one stopped directly in front of the church steps, while men raced out from the black SUV. They stood single file in a line with their hands crossed down. One man steps out and opens the back door to the white SUV, and there he was with his eyes gleaming black, his fist in his coat pocket, his eyes dead on us. I saw Hunter's face shift uncomfortable as he placed his right hand over his heart and bow, muttering Alpha. His black eyes remained fixed on me, making me want to cower back, but instead I raise my chin and head down. We once again lock gaze. As I stood directly in front of him, I study his face in close. His rigid eyes slowly turned away from mine, landing straight on the suit's jacket laying my shoulders. I see his lips part, but instead he turns to face Hunter. He opened his mouth, but before he could say a word, I said, I asked him to give it. He turned to me. His face darkened. You are hereby stripped, Hunter Jackson, from your rank of head delta for having your scent found upon your Luna. I hope you enjoy your time in the cells with the Rouges. Consider yourself lucky because today's my wedding. He growled, with his face towards me the entire time. I saw Hunter's face rise with dismay, but instead of protesting, he bowed once again before two guards dragged him off. I was dragged by the arm and literally thrown into the back seat of the SUV before the door snapped shut. I brushed back my hair to see Damon sitting next to me, his face just as furious and clearly pissed. Before I could utter a word, his hand rolled over my mouth while a sharp sting of a needle rose in my neck, just below my ear. I tried shoving him away, but before my hand could meet his chest, my head spun around as I welcomed in the lonely darkness. 11. The Perfect Illusions. Ryan's POV. Xavier was the first to snap his head at Christina, right after Nora left the altar and headed to the exit with that young representative from Alpha Damon. He and Nora laughed some bit when I first checked up, but after a while, I saw Nora jog out with him trailing behind her. Curiously, I drew my attention back just in time to catch Xavier's harsh and impatient words. What did Nora mean? Luckily, we were the only ones in the church despite the few remaining guards we had stationed outside and the few guards from Red Blood Pack that Damon's beta himself insisted on. Zane had crossed his hands, while Mia was behind him with her hands resting on his shoulders' blades. Angel was ahead of me, her arms wrapped around her bare arms as if she was cold. I embrace her, snuggling her close with the tip of her head by my cheeks. We hug each other close as we see the scene unfold. Christina choked back a cry, tears staining her rosy cheeks. She stammered. It was unlike of her to cry, so seeing her like this was painful. Not only for me, but for Xavier as well. I could definitely sense it. No, Christina. No excuses. Not anymore. I've given you time like Angel and Mia had advised me, but now I've had enough. I need answers. You nearly fell down the stairs more than 3 times this past week. So please, Xavier said, holding on to Christina's arms. His voice was deep and heavy as if it had been burdened with the weight of several days of awaiting for answers. Please, baby. I need answers. He pleaded in a lower tone, pulling her close to his body. Their bodies molded perfectly into each other. Christina's face was weeping against his shoulder. Forgive me. She wept. I was just scared with everything that's happened so far. Since the meeting. Nor as mate. Nor as health. The wedding. As Esha. Xavier extricated himself from the embrace and bent down to place his lips on hers. I felt a smile tug up on Angel's face, and when she turned around to see me, I pulled her face to mine for a brief kiss. I know everything's been crazy for the past week. I know it's been rough for Nora as well as for us, but right now, I just want to be selfish and care for you only. Please, tell me what's up. He spoke softly, caressing her cheeks with the tips of his fingers. Christina sniffed as his fingers wiped her cheeks and gently pulled her face towards his. Xavier once again bent down, but this time to kiss her temple. Xavier, she started shyly. lightly looking down at the ground. Christina's left hand hung loosely down from his arms while her right hand remained coiled around her stomach. His pale eyes shone with a new light of hope. Christina. A laugh slipped accidentally from her, before her pale brown eyes rose and widened with shock. Maya's scream echoed throughout the empty church, ricocheting off the crested walls, catching Xavier's as well as my attention. I saw Xavier flip around as Zane whirled me a backpack with his hands draped around her waist. I defensively pull Angel back as well. From the corner of my eyes, I noticed a snarling space gray wolf flung at Xavier. Christina, last minute yanked Xavier's arm behind 180 degrees around as Christina carelessly placed her body was in front. Me and Angel tumbled backwards into the ground, and as I hit Angel's face, I ended up seeing everything. The wolf's razor, sharp claws ripped effortlessly through Christina's dress as well as her skin. Xavier. She clutched her stomach as her body fell back against Xavier's chest, blood quickly starting to seep through her dress fabric, out to the surface where it leaked freely down to the ground. Caden's POV lost the sedation part a little too. What's that damn word? Oh yeah. Melodramatic. I asked, breaking the humming silence, as the view evolved from city lights twinkling down below to midnight black painted forest and roads with nothing but the car's headlights lighting our path. I hear him scoffle laugh. Melodramatic. And me. Caden. You out of all the people should know by now I don't go well associated with that word. I mean. Did you even see what she did? I glanced into the rearview mirror to see Damon and whiffed his head at her with disgust clearly visible on his face. Under seconds his eyes diverted back onto me, anger fuming within. Don't fucking give me that look. Looks like someone's got their panties into a twist. I snicker, squeezing the steering wheel while I hear him inhale and deep breathe. He glares. Can you shut the fuck up if you're gonna support her instead of me? Like, how dare she allow that son of bitch's scent upon herself? Hope he enjoys his time in the cells, he muttered under his breath. My grip tightens on the steering wheel. Maybe she was cold and that's why she asked Hunter to pass over his coat. Wow. Already compromised your loyalty from your alpha to your Luna. Why didn't I see this coming? He huffed. Since when have you started humming your Luna's tune? I sigh. Maybe you should give her and maybe me a break. I've been exhausted since morning doing your dirty alpha duties for you, watching the execution of several rouges, while you've been busy trying on wedding suits. I stare back at him. He sighed frustratingly before slipping his fingers through his loose dark hair. He avoided my gaze by staring out his window, clutching his head towards his right. I saw Nora's lifeless body leaning against the window. From another's angle, it looked as if she had fallen asleep and was sleeping gracefully, but the small puncture hole under her ear from the syringe was scarring red, telling another story. The loose ends of hair that had slipped out from their pins were brushed to the side, with her hands were nearly folded on each other, sitting her lap. What are you going to say to her when she wakes up? I asked, making his lingering frown turn to faint smile. Oh, Caden. More like, what am I going to do to her when she wakes up? Right. His fingers slip off his head, while his face turns to me. What's been up with you? You've been less sarcastic and more serious since, well, I don't know since when even. I turned back to Lonely Road. Nothing, I replied dryly. Just need some alcohol. He nods as if he understood. How much longer until we reach? Not too long now. About another 25 minutes. I change my mindset. After eyeing the time. 735 scratch that. Make it 10. I step on the gas pedal, as I feel my heartbeat rise. Nor as POV. The second I rise my palm to my sluggish head, I feel as I've been sucked and spat out of a tornado. My body ached as I rose off the crisp bed while my guts felt like they'd been mushed together, sending the sensation of nausea running up my throat. I bite back the bile forming in my throat as I survey my surrounding. My heavy eyes take the most time to adjust to the setting and dim light from the hundreds of candles decorating the room. I was laying in my wedding dress, on a bed with black sheets hanging from my waist. I saw the undersheets as a metallic gray color while the walls were a lighter shade of gray than the sheets themselves. The walls were also decorated with expensive-looking paintings and a black border, running down the top and bottom of every wall. The room was large, bigger than mine surprisingly, with a stunning layout. The bed was on the wall facing the main door, with a large dresser directly next to the door, including 3 large adjustable mirrors, and a 3-piece leather sofa set with a glass coffee table in the middle, just a few steps away. I cringe at the sight of the candles that were placed everywhere around the room, along with freshly plucked red rose petals littered on the floor. Beyond the sofa set was a big window draped with elegant black curtains. Next to the window, I saw what looked like some large patio doors, also draped with the same type of material concealing the outside world. Curiosity getting the best of me, I stood up from the bed while catching my balance with the help of the small table holding a lamp and obliviously some candles next to my bedside. I adjust my posture to see the washroom on the wall opposite of me, with a door to a closet maybe too. Ignoring them both, I brushed some fly-away hair away from my face as I moved towards the patio doors to catch some blissfully fresh air. When I was rarely about 3 steps away from getting to the patio, the sound of doors slamming shut from behind made me leap. I turned around to see him dressed in the same finest tuxedo as he had wore during the wedding, but in the dim lighting he looked even more handsome that time. His mysterious black eyes sparkled while his face was lit with a calculating smirk. "So finally you grace me with your presence." His voice had hints of amusement, along with a strong blend of sarcasm. I merely smile. "I'm not so sure I can say the same for you, Mr. Alpha. Your presence is rather constricted than enchanting, as I've been told in the past," he replies, thrusting his hands into his pocket. Leaning back casually, "You can save the formalities for when we're in the presence of a pack member. For tonight you have permission to call Damon, or if you wish, my Alpha. And please." He breathes near my ear, standing close by my right. Even by taking slow calculating steps, he managed to cross over 1/4 of room to the point where he was standing centimeters away. "Don't hesitate tonight." I scrunch the side of my dress with my fist as I hold back some bitter words. He silently slips his hand down my exposed back, glazing his fingers over my spine on the way back up, leaving a trail of fireworks to explode over my back. I furiously bite my burning lips, while my eyes automatically squeeze shut as I attempt to fight his temptation, promising and daring myself not to give in. "Why didn't you mark me in front of the pack?" The words rush out my mouth, making him reel back his hand from me. I open my eyes, surprised by my own action. I turn to my side to face him. "You could have easily shown your dominance over me by marking me in front of both packs. So why didn't you?" I didn't know where all this courage was coming from, because just yesterday I was so terrified to even utter a simple hello. And now I was asking him all this. I let the words naturally spill out. "Why wait till now, when it's just us to show your freak control over me?" His eyes linger over my face, studying every corner, making me slightly uncomfortable, but that doesn't stop me from looking him in the eyes. Just when I thought I had made him angry and he was going to lash out and hit me, he simply laughed. "You know, I used to think you were quiet, shy and innocent, but you proved me wrong. You don't use that intelligent little brain of yours much, do you?" He straightened his posture. "If I had marked you in front of both pack, would have your darling brothers sit back and enjoy the show? Hell no, because you know as much as I do that they would rather shit their pants before witnessing that. They would have risen such an uprising for such a trivial issue, for a simple mark, just for their oh so fragile little sister. Meaning for you, and then because of you and hot-headed brothers, my pack member's head would have been guillotined as the price. They would have ripped my neck before my teeth could have even come into contact with your skin. If you remember correctly, that church in which we were married in, it's located by your pack, only 2 km away from yours, but 35 km away from mine's. Why, they even had 15 SUVs filled with warriors planted only a couple of blocks down the road just to slice my head if necessary." He laughed brittle lie. I let his words sink while I blinked twice when I recall his facial expressions and tone. I don't know why, but it felt as he was resisting on something. The way he laughed dryly hinted that he wanted to add more, Something more serious than he wished it to be, but he yet unsettling lie withdrew. Well, which, well, are you going to mark me right now? I blunt out, making his laugh cease and eyes drop on me. He raised an eyebrow, desperate to get a taste of me already. Am highly honored, but am afraid. Am not the least amount tempted by you. This time I smile unwillingly. Then that means you're not going to mark me. He gazes down on me, with a confusing frown. Well, I have to show that you're mine and mine alone. He clarified, and also since to show whatever's mine shouldn't be tampered with. I drop my smile when I remember who he is. The heartless alpha who is cruel, merciless, vile, the witch, vile, cold and now even sarcastic, but one thing that I quite didn't understand was his frown. He should have been happy, or more likely eager to claim me, but yet he kept hesitating. Something wasn't right. I realized I should have been filled with joy from his reluctance, but I couldn't help but ask, is something wrong? His face that was once painted with restrictions unlocked back to his old self. That glow in his eyes disappeared and were replaced by the same hollowness I was used to. Shut up. He snarls before racing up to me so suddenly that I didn't have a moment to react until he pulled out and struck me with another syringe. This time the sting raced up by my right neck, and also this time the effect came more quicker than last time. My dress grew heavier, weighing my down as my head spun. I fell to my knees, but before my body could come into contact with the ground, I felt my body float. Seconds passed before I realized in being carried bridal style with my head against someone's shoulder. My eyes grew sluggish while my words came out slurred. I was gently placed back into the bed, and this time the sting came from forearm. My heavy eyes grew open and wider with awareness when my blood pumped the liquid through my veins like a caffeine dose. I immediately start thrashing against his grip, but his grip just grew tighter. Before I knew it, he was directly on top of me, hitting me down onto the bed with his hands wrapped my wrist above my head, sparks flying everywhere where our skins met. I scowl as his face remained amused, a devious smirk tugging up on his fine lips. TSK. He scolds playfully. Someone needs to brush up on their defense. Bite me at me. I growl, regretting it intently. Say no more. He whispers by my ear, before planting his lips onto mine. I feel my mind swirl with a rush of emotions: anger, lust, hatred, love. I cowed and picked just one. I was on sinking deeper and deeper into cloud 9, which was another decision that I would regret in the morning. His lips were just as fine as I presumed, and maybe better in a way, but the intensity from the church to now was a million times more frightening. His lips were fiercely dominating the kisses with an ignited fire for more. His lips, sadly, flew off mine, just to start leaving a trail of wet kisses down my neck to arch where my neck met my shoulder. His hands were still entangled with my wrist hovering above my head. I unconsciously moaned from pleasure that I was receiving, hearing June's howl from within. My back arches lightly when his kisses grew peppery and more teasing full as he traveled further down my neck. The second HES at his desired destination. He pressed a firm kiss down on my skin, making me airy scorch from his touch. My eyes remained shut from fear when I realize what's going to happen. I take in a deep breath as I feel Damon's canines bury themselves deep in my neck. The pain doesn't hit all at once, but instead it takes about 5 seconds before crashing in. My body slumps down against the bed and pillow, my screams from pain filling the atmosphere. It was like my skin being set on fire while being drained of my blood and being poked with about 50 killer sharp fire pokers all at once. He bites down again, but this time without moving his canine teeth, making me draw in a loud gasp. My stomach became a tight knot while my chest constricted. My thrashing made it worse, especially since Damon's grip grew tighter than ever before, so I eventually let myself melt under his body. Tears flood down my cheek as my screams died down to a low cry. I feel him slowly extract his fangs and lick the area where he had claimed me. Tears blurred my vision as I felt my body slowly drain its remaining energy from the mark. I suddenly feel drowsy as mind reprograms and processes the newfound emotions fill in my brain. My eyes grew extremely heavy as the darkness slowly replaced my vision. I drew in deep breaths as it becomes hard to butt as I processed Damon's new emotions through my mind. One stood out of them all. Empathy. 12 the collisions. Oh God. How many glasses did we have last night? I asked June, rolling my head sluggishly on my pillow while I used my stiff arm to rub my eyes tiredly. I sense her roll her eyes. I swear, I haven't seen a girl nearly half as weak and dumb as you. You think alcohol would cause this hot, sexy adrenaline rush coursing through our connection? Just when I realized June had officially lost it because she was making no sense, I block her out, causing a headache to come bursting in. My head throbbed as I stirred throughout the bed, moaning from pain amongst the warm sheets hugging my body. Just when I had snuggled my pillow closer to my face, a gentle thump-thump at the door startles me. I shot upright, making a sharp sting run down my neck. My hand instinctively curls around my neck, making the area burn up. When I don't hear another knock, I shrug it off as I imagine and tiredly fall back into the bed, hugging the sheets closer. Just when the cozy darkness was starting to creep in, there was another knock at the door. Cursing out loud, I roll my face to eye the time in the clock by my bedside table. 750 am. Swearing again. I cover my face with the sheets, pretending it'll just go away, as if it was figment of my imagination. After a few minutes of silence, instead of a knock, I hear the door slam open, making me toss the sheets away angrily. Okay. Who the hell? I stop after I glance at the person who just strode in. A strangely familiar male, looking no older than 20, with dark hair that was glistening from the sun's light that had an unusual blend of colors for his eyes. Trudged in causally, I frown from failing to recognize to him. He eyes me suspiciously as he slyly places a cigarette in his mouth, and that's what I remember. My mouth hangs open slightly as he lights his cigarette with the same metal lighter from that alley. You're the one who saved your ass back in that alley and the one who knocked some sense into you two, he questioned, after huffing out a cloud of smoke. What are you doing here? I yell, rubbing my temple, while my right hand was too busy gathering the sheets tight within my grasp. I sat up tight against the headboard, and while doing so, I chewed on my lower lip. Where else is one supposed to be when guarding their Luna? He hummed, crossing his arm over his chest. He had traded his formal tuxedo for plain jeans with a tight gray shirt. Can you first wait for me to be out of bed before you start your guard duty? I seethed, covering my mouth to prevent another incoming yawn afterwards. Or are you going to guard me while I'm brushing my teeth as well? I snap, irritated lie. Looks like someone had a rough night. I heard him mutter under his breath. Excuse me, I asked sarcastically, giving him the opportunity to change his answer. Nothing. Get up before I call Damon here, and let me just warn you. He won't be happy. I was about to stand up when I tossed the covers aside to find the hem of my dress torn severely all the way up to my thigh. After sighing to get his attention, I glare at him until he recognizes the hint. My ears catch some unpleasant complaints slip out under his breath, but before I could protest, he slammed the door behind him. The door slammed shut, and the second it does, I jump out of bed, stretching my aching limbs and try to ignore the pain as I trail to the washroom across the room. After entering the washroom, I stare at my reflection in large mirrors stretched from one corner to another, along the area above the sink. Suddenly my breathing gathers in my air pipe as I cover my mouth. The sight of the large reddish bite mark just above my left collarbone was, surprisingly, breathtaking. Just as much it was terrifying. I could clearly see the puncture holes from where his canines had sunk in, permanently tattooing my skin with his name inked directly under in handwriting. Alpha Dame Un Romano. The name that always sent a shiverous collaring down my spine. He is my mate, I reminded myself. No wonder my neck's burning. That's not the only thing burning from his touch, hon. June croons. Timidly, I turn away from my reflection, and when I realize that I had brought nothing with me into the bathroom, I go back out, and after searching desperately, I find one of my suitcases literally thrown into the large closet next to the washroom. I sigh again as I rip it open and pull out a loose red deep neck shirt with a beige cardigan, matching scarf and plain skinny jeans, along with knee-high boots. I also stop for a moment to pop 2 pills of Advil for the pain, though I knew there would be no affect. I also grab my large towel, along with some other toiletries that I had packed in a smaller bag. I drag myself back, and before I start my shower, I remember to double-check that the door was locked. I had tied my hair into a high bun to prevent it from getting wet, being too lazy to wash and dry it. I strip and start cleaning myself under the soothing hot water, which also scorched my mark and made me wince at first. After 10 blissfully long minutes, I step out from my glorious haven, humming the lyrics to Closer as I told rough towel around me. Next, I grabbed my toothbrush and toothpaste to brush my teeth along with. I wear the clothes, and after frustratingly debating on what to do with my hair, I, like the laziest girl ever, leave my long hair open without even brushing it once. As I unlock the washroom door, I once again cross paths with same male, who was now leaning back on one of the sofas by the coffee table, cuddled in the corner and across the room. Finally, he exclaimed, making me roll my eyes. His back was facing me, but I could sense him smirking. I never quite understood why girls take so long to get ready. All you have to do is shower and wear some damn clothes. I can probably guess from your answer you haven't got any experience living with a mate yet. I wonder, while stepping in front of the dresser to adjust my hair. Wait till she come. Then you'll see. No, I don't have a mate. Something flashes in the sunlight, catching my attention. I glance at him as he rose a flask to his lips. Seriously, it's 8:40 in the morning, I exclaim, stopping by his side to grab the flask from his hands. Well, Bethel Witch, well, at least it is happy hour for me, love. He winked, leaning his messy hair back to against the sofa. Take a sip. I don't mind. I can even promise not to tarnish your good girl reputation to anyone, including to Damon. I scowl irrationally from hearing Damon's name while closing the flask and throwing it to the bed, which was now neatly done. Aren't you supposed to be the one guarding me and not the other way around? That was the plan, love. He stayed, pulling out another identical flask to the one I just threw from his back pocket. I shake my head disappointingly, throwing my arms up in frustration. Well, you a witch. Well, it isn't going as smooth as you planned, is it, Einstein? It's more like him guarding you from getting drunk. I throw myself onto the sofa next to his, making him arch an eyebrow. Be sim, Caden. By the way, like your name is supposed to, I pause midway. Caden, as in Beta Caden. Isn't that the name of Damon's beta? He sips another slip of whatever his flask contained. If you're his beta, aren't you supposed to be helping the alpha with his dirty chores? You know, things like torturing kittens, starving puppies, polishing a life-size statue of your alpha. I cross my legs, catching his attention. As much as it'd thrill to be polishing Damon's statue, ESS. Not today, love. HES giving me a break. I've handled enough for him during the past few days. It's his turn now. My loose scarf constricted around my neck. Before I could ask more, my stomach growled, shame painting my cheeks as I laid both feet clamped down, brushing some hair behind my ear. After a few seconds, Caden clears his throat. I assume you're hungry after taunting me. Luckily, I've notified the kitchen staff to be expecting you anytime now. I nod firmly, standing up. Aren't you coming? I've already had my breakfast if you haven't seen. They'll meet you downstairs in a while.
I play with the chain to my mother's necklace strapped around my neck.
Figures, was all I said, wrinkling my nose at the stench of alcohol reeking of him. When I had barely made it 4 steps away, someone's hand latched onto mine, compelling me to twirl around. I was spun around to meet Caden, with his body closely pressed against mine and his colorful eyes twisted with shades of dark brown. What? His hand fell down to my neck, rolling my infinity scarf off. What in the hell are you doing? I try shoving him away with all my force, but his grip was hard as steel around my arm. He didn't utter a word until after he had the entire scarf in his palm. "Never, ever, cover your mark," he growled by my ear as if we were in danger of others hearing. "Even if you must, there are some people, in and not in this pack, that would kill to have your position. You hear me?" He threatened in a dangerous tone, inching closer to my face to the point where I could smell the scent of hard liquor stinking out of his mouth. "Covering your mark won't show people that HES claimed and given you the role of the Luna, and that could become a problem for you in the long run, mark my words. As long as you shine his mark on your skin with your chin high, they'll have no choice but to listen and to obey you. Power is essential here, and you must have a desire for more if you wish to stay on the top." My chest tightens as it suddenly becomes hard to breathe. His one school eyes lingered with a fury while his words came out harshly but within the range of a whisper. I gulped down some saliva that had gone sour in my mouth as I pull myself away from his embrace. He tosses the scarf onto the sofa as I turn around, walking slowly until I had laid a step in the narrow hallway with the door wide open behind. I head to my left, passing through the multiple shut doors, walking with a slight jog in my step to get as far away as I could from Caden. I didn't turn around once to peek back. I keep running forward down narrow hallway until I came across a flight of wooden stairs. The walls were half blood red from the top and half black on the bottom, with a cherry red wood border running along the top, bottom end in between where the red and black paint collided. There was also limited accessories decorating the corridor besides the low angling lamps in the hallway, like a few painting. In conclusion, the house reminded me of the Salvatore house from the Vampire Diaries, with its traces of ancient style with a wicked twist of modernization. I slow down as I head down the stairs, holding on to the railing to steady my weak balance. After successfully making it down, I release my breath, which I don't remember holding on to. I glance back once as I took a blind step forward, before accidentally colliding into another body. I trip, falling to the ground and nearly hitting my head on the wall. I rub my forehead tenderly, while I hear some stammers of sorry but no hand of help. Looking up, I see a gorgeous girl who had a small body frame, maybe smaller than me, and old dripped jeans with a loose worn-out gray tank that had a hole on the side and an extremely short, tight-fitting black cardigan. She extended her trembling hand, while avoiding eye contact. She heaves me up, and when she's done, she releases a heavy breath, making me realize she's even weaker than she looks. Forgive me, my Luna. I didn't see you here. Are you okay? Do you need me to call the pack doctor?" she said nervously, dropping her gaze along with her hands. Her voice was just as tender as I had assumed. Judging on her body, she looked 15, but her voice came out soft and melodious, hinting she was more older and mature than she looked. She had large almond-shaped eyes holding a twinkling set of dark chocolate pupil, which had now shrunken from fear. That's when I noticed her chest-length midnight black hair, that was thrown to the front, with the front bangs twirled back, were actually not for style, but instead they aid in covering the blue bruises decorating the neck. "It's quite all right. And no thank you. There's no need to call the pack doctor. I'm fine. Oh, and also, please don't call me Luna. I would be delighted if you called me Nora instead," I reply softly, making her look up, surprise flushing up on her face. I shake off the idea of asking about the bruises, knowing it would make her uncomfortable, and that was the last thing I wanted. "Forgive me again, my Luna. I don't think that's possible. You're the Luna of the pack and me Alpha's mate, while I'm just a mere Omega," she said sadly, still looking down, her hands trembling by her sides. The last line came in a dry whisper. I knew the hidden message behind her words. "I don't have enough of a status to call you by your first name," was what she meant to say, but couldn't. I wanted to protest, but I knew that Woodland had been the best decision. I bite my lip while thinking about what to say next. "What's your name?" "Liwa," she whispered, slightly more confidently, just by her tone. I knew she was kind-hearted and told any desire for power, making me want to befriend her straight away. I hadn't met anyone else, but I instantly knew she was different. "Leela, that's a beautiful name," I said, holding on to your arms. How old are you? She bit her lower lip, still avoiding eye contact. 17, Luna. You looked pretty to be just 17. I say, making the remaining last bits of warm flush down her face. When you're Ian Omega, being pretty doesn't matter. Before she flips around to leave, I grab her wrist. Look, I'm sorry. Can you please show me to the kitchen for some breakfast at least? Just when I thought she was going to say something, my stomach growls again, but even louder than before, making a ghost of a smile appear upon her face. Of course, my Luna. I release her as follow her like a lost puppy, guiding me through to the large parlor and into the kitchen. The kitchen was large, nearly as my room, large and spotless, with twinkling black countertops and limited supplies neatly in containers huddled in the corners. There were dark oak cupboards and drawers with a medium-sized aisle and refrigerator. There was even a gigantic glass door covering one entire side of the wall on the opposite of the refrigerator, with a view of an enormous swimming pool enough for 150 people. I didn't know about June, but I knew I could finish at least 3 out of 15 drawers of food and still have energy to take a swim. Drool started overfilling my mouth like I was a child left alone in a candy shop. Meanwhile, I looked at the cupboards with affection, making Leela smile again. It was as if our horrible introduction hadn't happened, to which I was grateful for. She brought a plate from the one of top cupboard and pan out from the lower one. I took a seat on the stool closet to the stove, and after I was done childishly spinning around on the high bar stool, I gazed outside through window. Beyond the pool was some green space with bushes growing around in designs, and in the distance, I could spot the large silver gate barring the dark forest world from ours. Early morning mist was still hovering low on the ground, making the land seem enchanting in its own way. It's so beautiful, I say out loud to myself. It is, isn't it? You should see it during springtime, Nora. I mean my Luna. Leela replied, making me turn to her. It's simply stunning and heartwarming. Well, seeing warm, cheesy nachos can also be heartwarming, you know. She unwillingly laughs nervously, making me frown. Why are you hesitating from laughing freely even? I ask abruptly. She turns to face me with a blank expression. Please don't think I'm being mean or that I'm invading your personal space. But I'm just curious. That's how I am. It's just that being new here without any friends is hard. Especially when most people here just care about ranks and status. I believe you're not one of them and really looking for someone I could befriend who'd be like you. You'll find plenty of good people to befriend here, my Luna, Leela said, after biting her lip. I'm just not one of the options. Why? I want to be friends with a person who I can freely talk to. I can freely fail gossiping behind my back the second I turn away. I want to be friends with a person who truly cares about me. Not of my rank as a Luna, and that sticks by my side to support me through my roughest times, and that shines with me in my brightest. I would like a friend who encourages me by love and not by secret death glares. I would like you to be that friend, Leela. I'm just as alone as you are, and maybe if we become friends, then we can erase that loneliness for us both. She doesn't reply, but instead places a glass with grape juice in front of me along with a plate of scrambled eggs and toast. She doesn't leave the kitchen, but instead starts working on the dishes. I sigh and stare down at my food. I spent my life folded between the pages of books. In the absence of human relations, I formed bonds with paper characters. She quoted, leaving my mouth hanging. Is that? My eyes widen as I start, but she ends for me, smiling brightly. From Tahi Rach MAF is Shatter Me. Oh my God. I adored Kenji so much from that book. I squeal. My fangler is peeking. Oh, here we go again. June sighs, palming her face. I know right. I did too. He made everything better with his wittiness. She laughed while opening the tap. Yes, he did. He totally reminded me of Will Herondale. I laugh while scooping my eggs and dropping them into my mouth. The scrambled eggs were perfectly balanced, salty with a hint of sweetness, just like how Angel used to make them. How do you make this egg? What's wrong, my Luna? Are they too salty for your liking? Her brow rose timidly while her voice shook. No, they're perfect. I fiddled with my spoon, looking down. They just remind me someone really close. Thank you, but sorry, my Luna. It's an old secret recipe. Unless you truly wish to know. No, it's fine. We're all entitled to have our secrets, I say while she wiped her hands on a rag. Her lips trembled as if she was refusing to say something. After a brief period of silence, she asked, "Who's Will Hare and Dale?" I look up with wide eyes. HES from another awesome book series that you just have to read, called The Infernal Devices. HES, another form of Kenji. That's for sure. She leaned against the stove counter, her entire attention diverted to me. His jokes are so hilarious and HES super. You better not be gossiping about boys when you're standing in mate's house. Caden walked in, holding the flask in his hands by his sides. It won't be beneficial for you nor for your boyfriends, I assure you. Yes, I've heard that threat many times enough to know how it goes. I scoff while rolling my eyes, and after hearing Leela swallow down a gulp from the corner of my eye, I had saw Leela lower her eyes and bow, slightly arching back, muttering beta as if Caden was the alpha who had just walked in. Her hand started to shake, but she held on firmly to her cardigan when bowing to Caden. Her actions reminded me of Hunter and how his body went rigid before he was taken away and thrown in the cells, just for lending his jacket to me because I was cold. I couldn't stand up and support him then, but now I could. I had to. For Leela, my friend. I wanted to show her that it was me who had the power between us two, not him. That I was higher in rank than him, in their own words. I rose a hand to her to rise her head, which she reluctantly did. "Made a friend of it?" he asked, leaning against the door frame, narrowing his sharp eyes on Leela, who was starting to cower back a few steps. Not the bestest of the choice, and neither the bestest of the ranks. I raised the glass in my hand while resting my elbows on the counter, examining the edges of glass, quoting a long-forgotten quote. "Save me from the ranks of freaks who suspect they can never love anyone."